A DougCo schools teacher is out of the classroom and on leave after an online uproar related to the confrontation between a Native American activist and some Catholic school kids in Washington, D.C. People are furious over now deleted tweets attributed to Michelle Grissom. She's a history and civics teacher at Mountain Ridge Middle School. Tweets that name the wrong student as being the kid who was face-to-face with that activist and referred to that misidentified student as being in Hitler Youth. Michelle Grissom, seen here speaking to the DougCo School Board last month, is a 7th grade social studies teacher at Mountain Ridge and Highlands Ranch. Grissom has not responded to my repeated attempts to contact her yesterday and today. I know that she wasn't in the classroom today. It's not clear if and when she will return to class. Grissom is also on the executive board of the Teachers Union in Douglas County. The head of the DougCo Federation would not talk to me about those online comments. Now, as for this student, who apparently wasn't even at the incident in Washington, D.C., but who had his name and photo spread around captioned with Hitler Youth, his father told me tonight that he is thankful that Grissom will not be around children until this situation is resolved. We have promised to get our Polis's promises graphic updated with one of those snappy TV jingles. But the governor keeps moving the ball on his campaign promises before we can get that done. So you are left with me introducing Polis's promises today on healthcare, where he signed an executive order.
Unless we make progress on saving people money on prescription drugs, unless we make progress on addressing some of the pricing disparities in Western Colorado and preventing some of those high-cost cases for bringing up rates, we're never going to be able to expand coverage and get to universal care.
And with that, the governor put the healthcare industry's money where his mouth is. Through an executive order, Polis officially started a state office with a deliberately catchy name.
Led by Lieutenant Governor Diane Primavera, the Office of Saving People Money on Healthcare will form the beating heart of our efforts to reduce patient costs for hospital stays, for expenses, to improve the transparency of pricing, allowing for competition, to lower the outrageous cost of prescription drugs, and to make insurance more affordable and achievable.
A lot of people like those goals, but how do you do it? So, well, the words today are a step toward keeping one of Polis's promises. We likely won't have a final grade on this one for years. The office that he created will not have the power to unilaterally reduce costs. It will make recommendations to the legislature on what it could do to reduce costs by law. So why exactly do we need a new government office to make recommendations to another branch of government? Our Marshall Zellinger got some differing answers.
I came into this world with a rare genetic disease that causes episodes of mass swelling ranging from simply painful to fully life-threatening.
Rachel Wall was born to be part of the governor's healthcare news conference.
I take 6 pills in a day and use my inhalers twice.
She took us to her home to show us the prescription medicine she needs to survive.
I usually end up spending $1,500 to $2,000 on medication.
There's a lot of departments across state government that handle health care, but there's been no office until today dedicated to helping us save money on health care.
Surrounded by more people than probably should have been in the governor's office at once, Governor Jared Polis signed an executive order establishing his office of saving people money on health care. Not in the room, any Republican lawmakers.
I don't know how we feel about creating a new office when we could just have a conversation and probably, in fact, agree on a lot of things.
Republican House Minority Leader Patrick Neville told me he didn't even know about the announcement until we told him.
The little brief discussions I have had with the governor, it doesn't seem like he's pushing universal or single payer, but he actually does want to lower the prices. And if we can do that, that's something that we'll help out with.
I would be interested to watch the lobbying costs of pharma and of the Hospital Association, because I believe they're going to start lobbying up.
Democratic House Majority Leader Alec Garnett also revealed something he hopes this new office can do that President Obama's Affordable Care Act did not.
It should have been called the Increased Coverage Act, because what it really did is that it increased coverage across the state. What it didn't do was reduce costs.
So if you're trying to reduce costs for consumers, which Kyle and I were just talking about, who pays more? So far, everyone I've talked with says no new taxes, no shifting the cost to any other consumer. So probably hospitals. You heard Republican Minority Leader Patrick Neville say the governor doesn't seem to be pushing universal health care. Well, tonight, Kyle, in a committee room at the Capitol, a bill is being discussed to create a state-backed health coverage. It's not required, not covering everyone, but seems to be a baby step toward universal health care.
So the hospitals are going to pay. I wonder where they get their money. I don't know, we should look into that as well. All right, Marshall, thank you. Governor Polis' team told reporters not to ask questions about topics other than health care at that news conference today. But we are bad at following directions, especially when we're directed not to ask about what is clearly on the public's mind. And today, that's the Denver teacher strike looming on Monday. We know the district today asked the Polis administration to block a strike. He's kind of hedged on this for weeks, so you had to know reporters were going to ask again.
We are talking healthcare today. We have set up a factual website. It's factsheet.cdle.co. We're also confirming that later today I will be meeting with both sides to see if we can play a role in bringing them together.
One more comment on the looming education crisis. With all due respect to why we're here today, can you talk to Denver families about what you...
Well, I would just say, no matter what you do in our state, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a federal worker, health care costs are high.
You heard Governor Polis deflect the question about the teacher strike by saying, we are talking health care today. We? No, he is talking health care today. We, no matter how you define it, we, the reporters in the room, we, the general public, we are talking about the strike and its impact on tens of thousands of Colorado families. When I heard the governor proclaim that we are now talking about it, it reminded me of the royal we, the majestic plural. It sounds kind of quirky and old-fashioned when you hear the Queen of England use it. It just sounds controlling coming from a governor dismissing questions. Now, Polis just got started with this job, so perhaps he will not always bristle at off-topic questions. We shall see. So, now to exactly where we thought we'd be. Denver teachers, they voted to strike. New Superintendent Susana Cordova, she's gone to the governor, asked for an intervention and a delay, but meanwhile, teachers prepare to picket on Monday. Every school has a strike captain who will be organizing teachers on how to strike. Because, the last walkout was 25 years ago at DPS, and few of the current teachers were around.
It's a lot of just talking in the buildings with the teachers. Right now they're pretty scared, and they need information about what to do and what it looks like.
Teachers can expect to start picketing in the morning in front of their own schools, and then there's a good chance they're going to be moved en masse to some of the more visible locations where the public will see them, like at South High School or outside DPS headquarters. The district has vowed to keep classrooms open using substitutes and administrators in the schools. If teachers walk out, mental health providers could walk out with them, and you can imagine what that might mean for a student in crisis. Denver has 700 specialists and social workers who help some of the district's most vulnerable students. Our Sonia Gutierrez looks at how DPS plans to provide mental health support during a strike.
I work at a couple of different schools.
Amanda Listman is an SSP for DPS, a specialized service provider.
We have social workers, we have school counselors, we have school psychologists.
She's planning to strike along with the others hitting the picket lines. We asked the district how they're planning to fill that void.
I really have no idea how many are striking. I don't have any concrete numbers at this particular point.
How in the world are you supposed to prepare for that void if you don't know what the void is?
Right, so we have to prepare as if every single one of them are going to go on strike.
Robert Frantum Allen is the director of special education with DPS. He says that, like the teachers, they will be replaced with a pool of retired teachers, central office employees, and substitutes.
Are they licensed to do this kind of work?
Yeah, so most of them are coaches already, or they are team leads.
And if more specialized care is needed, they will tap into private agencies. The problem is making sure the most vulnerable kids have the care they need.
We have a shortage for special education teachers and specialized service providers across the country.
There's a shortage and you can't fill the shortage in your district, but yet when teachers or these professionals are going on strike, then all of a sudden you have all these extra hands.
Right.
Does that make sense?
So we are going to deploy the people that we have access to be able to cover our most significant needs students. That's going to be our first priority, and then if we need to make up services afterwards, we're more than willing to go forth and do that.
You're not worried?
So if the strike shortens the amount of time a student has to spend with a health professional, the district may extend school hours or bring the kids back for summer school to make up for the lost time. Kyle?
Sorry, I feel completely ignorant of this. I had no idea that they might have kids stay in the summer just to get in time with their mental health provider, like a classroom subject.
Yeah, exactly. So the students, some of them are entitled to this time with, say, social workers, psychologists, and they have to be there once or twice a week. If they don't meet this amount of time while they're out on strike, they have to make it up somehow, so it'll be after class or during summer.
Very interesting. All right, Sonia Gutierrez, thank you very much. Yeah. 33 days of the government shutdown. It's proven the inability of our political leaders to solve problems. It's also proven the kindness of everyday Coloradans. Take the woman in Gilpin County who heard that a Native American tribe in South Dakota was going without the food assistance and the funding that it typically receives from the government for its 40,000 citizens. So from 6 hours away, she decided it was her role to help. Here's our Katie Eastman.
This is more toilet paper.
One phone call can show the compassion of Coloradans.
We had donated to us 400 rolls of toilet paper.
One phone call.
So it's a lot of toilet paper.
Filled up this office.
There we go.
Donations all the way full here.
Micah, we have a 50-pound bag of rice. You ask, and Denver responds. It's...
How much more?
It's amazing.
Oh, great. So you're almost here.
Laura Richards got that call last week.
It's going good. You're going to be blown away.
It was a woman telling her the Oglala Lakota American Indians in South Dakota needed help.
Oh. It goes all the way over.
And help happened in a matter of days for Ricky Graygrass and his tribe. He drove the 6.5 hours here to pick up the second round of supplies.
Everything is under a treaty obligation from the government. With the shutdown, we lost everything. So this month is our last month for any services that is provided by the government.
The 40,000 people who live on the reservation were already struggling.
And more than 50% live below the poverty level.
So we have a hard time
getting assistance
in our own state.
Laura saw the need when she drove the first round of supplies out last week.
The child had worn out completely his only pair of shoes.
One phone call got shoes and so much more.
You know, it's wa'ushila.
Wa'ushila?
Yep, and that's just to have compassion.
The Lakota Nation sees wa'ushila here.
Just doing the best that we can to help each other out is what it's about, you know. America's always been that way.
Sometimes one person in America just needs to make the call. For Next, I'm Katie Eastman.
Laura's continuing her work to help the Lakota Nation. There's a list of drop-off locations and a link to learn more about their work in this article on 9news.com. Perhaps what Denver Public Schools and the Teachers Union need to resolve their differences is an outside, mature perspective. I know of a certain centenarian who's a favorite of Next, happens to be a district trailblazer, and would be happy to help.
Nice brief break from the snow, not from the cold, but we have another storm already moving into Colorado tonight after a day with highs in the low to mid 40s. That's about where we should be with that cold north wind. Made it feel colder than that for many of you. Winter weather and travel advisories out for a low that's going to swing into Colorado from the northwest. The area shaded in blue, winter weather advisory for 4 to 8 inches of snow. Ground blizzard potential up in Cheyenne with high wind warnings for those traveling northbound on I-25 tonight. Storm's a fast mover. Snow develops in Denver by about 4 a.m. right through the morning drive, ends around 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. So the timing is what will make this storm the most impactful. Snow already in the high country, but really not here in the metro area until the wee hours of the morning. So just plan accordingly for that. And it will be cold as well. Our forecast low temperature will be down in the mid-teens. We could see a quick inch or two of accumulation between 4 a.m. and about 11 o'clock in the morning. So it's certainly going to be a fast-moving storm system. And then we get into a warming trend, a nice weekend forecast. We're back to sunshine and 52 on Sunday, but there's another storm and more snow, Kyle, early next week.
Kathy, thank you. Hey, during the commercial break, we got a note in from the governor's office with an update on the DPS teachers strike. It says in part, at this point, the governor has not made a decision to intervene, and then it outlines a timeline. It says that the district officially asked for their intervention today. The union has 10 days to respond, and once the union responds, that starts a 14-day clock for whether the state will decide to intervene or allow them to strike. Wanted you to have the latest. It is okay to disagree, but it's worth hearing each other out. Does that sound like any TV program you're watching? We got that idea in part from a retired Denver school teacher, 106-year-old Marie Greenwood. Yes, it is her name on that elementary school. She's that big of a deal around town. She was kind enough to offer her view of what's going on.
About as ready as I'm going to be. I retired in 1974, so you see it was a long way back.
DPS's call for retired teachers to help sub during a strike
At 106? Hardly.
doesn't resonate with Marie Greenwood. But the reason teachers voted to walk out,
And it sounds like it's the same old story
does.
of salary.
We count Mrs. Greenwood's experiences by the decades. She remembers World War I, lived through World War II. In the 1950s, became the first African-American teacher at an all-white school in Denver. And 60 years ago,
I
remembers
with them,
standing in solidarity with her teachers without standing next to them on the picket line.
Here were the teachers, my teachers, all out there. Waved to me and I waved back at them, because they understood in the beginning what my philosophy was and that I would abide by it. And do you know, I respected them for doing that too.
That's what she remembers most about the strike in 1969. Mrs. Greenwood thinks she's too far removed to give too much advice for what's happening now, but we feel like it's worth listening to.
Could be a matter of the two getting together so that there is that understanding. I don't know whether it would work.
For Next,
I don't know whether it's working now.
I'm Anusha Roy.
But to me, that would be the only solution.
Denver has lost 2 music festivals in the last few weeks. Velorama and Grand Doozy announced they're done. Maybe what we need is a new festival for a new scene. Horror, anyone? That's next. We always talk to artists inspired by Colorado's beauty. Kind of counts out the gloomier places, Our Mike Grady caught up with a Coloradan determined to use art to bring some light to a genre that's often on the fringes.
Some of my comic book art.
Not all art hangs on bright gallery walls.
Unfinished sculpting projects like good old Zombie Bambi over here.
Some pieces find more somber homes.
My shop, but also operates as my art studio. We want to create that platform so that more things in the genre of horror can sprout wings and fly.
Artist Daniel Crozier,
or tentacles,
says filmmakers, writers, costumers, and so many other artists who share his love of the macabre often go unrecognized in Colorado.
We really wanted something that would, celebrate that culture, that thing of being scared and frightened.
He and 4 friends are organizing a Colorado Festival of Horror, or COFO, to showcase pieces like this guy.
We'll just call him Rex for now. So this is going to be for the COFO coloring book.
A collection designed to help fund the festival and inspire local horror artists and enthusiasts.
It is a way to galvanize that base, that creative community, and then the fans, around it.
They've received dozens of submissions from local illustrators for this black and white tome. A book more likely to be found in breweries and cafes than the children's section.
A creature with its arms going in the completely wrong direction. Yeah, that's pretty terrifying.
He hopes this Necronomicon of coloring books will help shed light on a genre usually left in the dark.
The talents and skills that just exist out there are phenomenal, and they should be celebrated.
For Next.
It might take me, hours and hours to finish one illustration, but yeah, it's pretty fulfilling.
I'm Mike Grady.
Necronomicon? Get it, Mike Grady. This article on DougCo has info on how to submit your coloring book ideas through the end of the month. They're shooting for fall of next year for the festival. Necronomicon. I am Googling that during the break, and after that, we'll be back with feedback from viewers who think I am being mean to the governor. Jim thinks we're picking on the governor. He says we should rename Polis's promises Polis's persecution. Well, that seems a little dramatic. We'll see you next time.